Greetings. How's everyone doing this afternoon? It's another lovely day in paradise. What can I say? Mighty, mighty nice up here in paradise. And today we are moving on to the lucky number 7, the 7th town of ghosts, where the king of the smelling ghost is, the king of the smelling ghost resides in the 7th town of ghosts. So, here we are again. We're at the 7th town of ghosts with the young man and the king of the smelling ghost. And this king of the smelling ghost is, he has captured this young man that is the central figure in our story, the central character of our story. He has captured him and is about to present him to all of his people in the 7th town of ghosts. So that's where we're at in our story. The story again is out of the book My Life in the Bush of Ghosts by Tutuola. Tutuola. I know I probably still saying that wrong, but I'm doing the best I can. Anybody wants to help me with improving my pronunciation, please do. Thank you very much. All right, so here we go. The smelling ghost. All kinds of, wrong chapter. My Life in the 7th town of ghosts. Gotta go. We already read that chapter. Okay, here we go. When he reached his town and entered his house, then he took me out of the bag, and I saw clearly that all his family were also smelling, and his house was smelling, so that immediately he took me out from the bag. I was unable to breathe out for 30 minutes. The most wonderful thing I noticed carefully in this smelling town was that all the babies born the same day were also smelling as a dead animal. This smelling town was separated and very far away from all other towns of ghosts. If any one of these smelling ghosts touched anything, it would become a bad smell at the same moment. And it is bad luck for any ghost. It is bad luck for any ghost. Where'd it go? It is bad luck for any ghost who is not a native of smelling ghosts to meet a smelling ghost on the way when going somewhere. It is also very bad luck for any it is also very bad luck for a smelling ghost if he meets any other kind of ghost on the way when going somewhere. It is also very bad luck for a smelling ghost if he meets any other kind of ghost on the way, if his bad smell does not drive them very far away. At the same time, as he took me out of the bag, he gave me food, which I was unable to eat, as it was smelling badly. But as I was unable to eat this food, I asked for water, as I never drank water since I left my brother or since I entered into the bush of ghosts. But they gave me urine, as it was their water, which they were storing in a big pot. Of course, I refused to drink it as well. There I noticed in this house that mosquitoes, wasps, flies of all kinds, and all kinds of poisonous snakes were disturbing them from walking easily about, and it was as dark in the day as in the night. So this darkness enabled uncountable snakes to fill up there as if they were taming or keeping them. It was in this town I saw that they had an exhibition of smells. All the ghosts of this town and environs were assembling yearly and having a special exhibition of smells. And the highest prizes were given to one who had the worst smells and would be recognized as a king. Since that day, as all of them were appreciating dirt more than clean things. When it was night, he pushed me with all his power into one of the rooms which were in his house, and I met uncountable flies, snakes, and all other kinds of pest creatures, which drove me back at the same time as he pushed me in. But as these pests drove me back to him, then he pushed me to them again and closed the door of the room. Immediately, he pushed me back to them and closed the door. I was covered by these pests, creatures, and it was hard for me to move about in this room. When I lay down to sleep on the floor without a mat, I asked for a cover cloth to cover my body. Perhaps the smells would allow me to sleep or to breathe. But when all of them heard cover cloth, they exclaimed, "What is called cover cloth?" Of course, when they said so, I remembered that I was not with my mother or in my town. I could not sleep or rest for a minute till morning because of these pest creatures, and also the bad smells which were blowing from everywhere to this room or house. But when I got out from this room in the morning to the veranda, I met over 2,000 smelling ghosts who came from various provinces of this seventh town of ghosts, which was the capital, to greet him for his good luck. Because it was good luck from my boss as he brought me to his house or town. Immediately I got out from the room, they told me to sit down in their middle as they sat down in a circle. So all of them surrounded me closely and looking at me with much astonishment as I was breathing once a minute because of their smells, which they themselves were enjoying as perfume or lavender. In the presence of these ghosts, my boss was changing me to some kind of creatures. First of all, he changed me to a monkey. Then I began to climb fruit trees and pluck fruits down for them. After that, he changed me to a lion, then to a horse, to a camel, to a cow or bull with horns on his head, and at last to my former form. Having finished that, his wives, who were all the while cooking all kinds of food, brought the food to them together with ghosts' drinks at the same place that they sat and looking at me as dolls, because none of them had ever seen an earthly person before. None of them talked a single word, as looking at me motionless as dolls. And all these foods and drinks were also smelling badly. And at the same time that they brought them, it was hard to see what sort of food and drinks because of flies, which almost covered them. After all of them had eaten and drunk to their entire satisfaction, then they were dancing the ghost dance round me and beating drums, clapping hands on me, and singing the song of ghosts with gladness until a late hour in the night, before every one of them who came from various provinces of this seventh town returned to his or her province. And those who came from this seventh town returned to their houses. But he was still receiving uncountable messages, congratulations, with many presents from those who were too old or in difficulties to present themselves at this good luck ceremony. After the fourth day that he had performed the lucky ceremony, his oldest son, who had only an arm and had no teeth in his mouth, with a bare head which was sparkling as if it was polished, took me out of the house to the front house. After that, his father came and performed a juju, which changed me to a horse unexpectedly. Then he put reins into my mouth and tied me on a stump with a thick rope. After this, he went back to the house and dressed in a big cloth, which was made of a kind of ghost's leaves, which was the most expensive. And he was only entitled to use such an expensive cloth as he is the king of all the smelling ghosts. But all these smelling ghosts did not appreciate earthly clothes as anything. After a while, he came out with two of his attendants who were following him to wherever he wanted to go. Then the attendants loosened me from the stump. So he mounted me. And the two attendants were following him with whips in their hands and flogging me along in the bush as he was dressed with these leaves and mounted me mercilessly. I felt as if he was a half a ton weight. Then he was riding me to the towns of those who attended and who were unable to attend his lucky ceremony, to greet them. And whenever he reached the house, he would get down off me and enter the house to greet the owner of it, who came and enjoyed the lucky ceremony with him, or who sent him presents. But within an hour that he entered and left the attendants with me, all the rest of the young ghosts and old ghosts of that area would surround me and look at me with great surprise. Sometimes these young or children ghosts would be touching my eyes with their fingers or sticks, so that perhaps I would feel it or cry, and they would hear how my voice would be. He spent almost 1 hour in any house he was entering, because he would eat and drink together with everyone that he was visiting to their satisfaction before the whole of them would come out and look at me for about half an hour. After that, he would mount me mercilessly, and both his attendants would start to flog me in such a way that all the ghosts and ghostesses of that town would shout at me as a thief. But if they shouted at me like that, my boss would jump and kick me mercilessly with gladness in the presence of these bystanders until he would leave that town. When it was 2 o'clock in the midday, he reached a village which also belonged to the smelling town. He got down from me and entered the largest and finest house, which belonged to the head of this village. And after a few minutes that he had entered the house, a fearful ghost who was speaking with his nose and whose belly was on his thighs brought horses' food, in which guinea corn and many leaves were included, to me. But as I had never eaten anything since my boss took me from the 3 old ghosts, so by that I ate the corn, which I had never tasted since I was born. But I was unable to eat the leaves, as I am not really a horse. Having finished the corn, another terrible ghost, whose eyes were watering all over his body and his large mouth faced his back, brought urine which was mixed with limestone to me to drink, as they were not using ordinary water there because it is too clean for them. But as I was all the while tied in the sun, which was shining severely on me, then I tasted it, as I was exceedingly feeling thirsty. Although I took my mouth off my mouth at once when I discovered that it was urine and limestone. And the worst part of these punishments was that as I was tied in the sun, all the young ghosts of this village were mounting me and getting down as if I am a tree, as they were very surprised to see me as a horse. When it was about 8 o'clock in the night, my boss came out from that house together with some prominent ghosts of the village. And after they looked at me for some minutes, he hung all the presents given to him on me and then mounted me. As it was very dark at that time, so I was staggering or dashing into trees along the way when he was returning to his town. And it was almost 1 o'clock midnight before we reached his town. Having reached his home, he was unable to change me to my former form that night, but his attendants simply tied me on a stump outside as he drank too much. So the whole of them left me there, and I was totally covered by mosquitoes until morning, but had no hands to drive them away. But he came in the morning and changed me to my former form. After some minutes, he gave me their smelling food, which I was unable to eat satisfactorily. But after I ate some of this food, he changed me again to the form of a camel. And then his sons were using me as transport to carry heavy loads to long distances of about 20 or 40 miles. But when the rest of the smelling ghosts noticed that I was useful for such purpose, then the whole of them were hiring me from my boss to carry loads to long distances and returning again in the evening with heavier loads. But as I could not satisfy all of them at a time, so they shared me. Half of them would use me from morning till night, then the rest would use me from the night till morning. At this stage, I had no chance to rest for a minute for all the periods that I spent with them. As the news had been spread to many towns of other kinds of ghosts, and as all of them wanted to see me as a horse. So they invited my boss to a conference so that they might see how he would ride me to their town where the conferences would be held, because ghosts like to be in conference at all times. But as he ought to change me from the camel to a horse, because the camel is useful only to carry loads, so by that, he changed me to a horse. But as soon as he went away, I saw where he hid the juju, which he was using to change me to any animal or creature that he likes. So I took it and put it into my pocket so that he might not change me to anything again. And we're going to leave off right there because our time has actually run out about a minute ago. But we'll finish that story off and see if we can read all of the following one next week, starting on Monday. Remember, tomorrow is a day for a watch party. So we'll be holding a watch party on Saturday and on Sunday at noon. It's a 1 hour watch party from noon to 1, Saturday and Sunday, here on YouTube and on Facebook. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button below if you're on YouTube. If you're on Facebook, don't forget to give us a like and give us a share. Show everybody that you care. I see some of y'all out there have been sharing us. We really appreciate that. Let's spread the word. One last note. Last night, I was able to set up a new YouTube channel exclusively for the children, and it's called Black Facts. You can get it at the if you go to YouTube, just type in Black Facts Jr. Black Facts Jr. That'd be the easiest way to find it. Okay, and so all I have on there, I just have one playlist, and it's all of the stories that I've been reading at this time, plus some other ones I did back in February. So check that out as well. Turn the children on to it. I don't know if I clicked the kids YouTube button on that one yet to make that exclusively on kids YouTube, but I am going to put it on there. So check it out and have no doubt we shall return. And when we do, we're going to learn so we can earn. Remember, you're the best. Be the best you can at all times. We'll see you soon, and enjoy your weekend. Peace out.